subscribe. Tariq Radio. Like and subscribe.
Being a part of the TGIF brand sometimes makes you feel like you don't completely belong in the pantheon of blackness. You know, blackness has been treated as a very monolithic experience in entertainment. You know, if it's not a hood story, it's not a black story. And you know, sometimes I feel left out of that. You know, so it's like you know, like if there's ever a poll and they say, oh, what are your favorite black shows? And you know, Martin is in there, or Living Single, or any of those guys, I already know we coming in last. But if there's ever a poll and it's just like your favorite family shows and suddenly Martin's not in there or whatever, all of a sudden we rank really high. And so it's kind of interesting in how we look at ourselves, to be quite honest, even as black folks. And somehow I became a symbol for black male nerd culture, to be quite honest. I mean, I know this for a fact. Any brother that grew up in the 80s and 90s, well, 90s and 2000s, wearing glasses, he was told at school he looked like me. He was called Urkel. And he didn't look anything like me, guaranteed. But still, his peers would find a way to call him Urkel, and even girls to that extent. So it's really humbling to see how far nerd culture has come. And really, it's not nerd culture. It's smart culture. It's hobbyist culture. It's skateboarders. And I could never have known in a million years that I would be the face of that. I never could have known that.
Let me get some more. Let me get my brother Afro Elite in here. Then I'm gonna get Great Black Shark in here. Brother Afro Elite, what's up, fam? Brother Afro Elite, where you at? Unmute your microphone. There you go.
It was a little pause there. For how you feel?
I'm good, man. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I want to speak to the subject of the room that the NFL is sticking with Jay-Z. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that Jay-Z went out to the premiere with his daughter and his wife. I think that's a good thing, too, to show that Jay-Z is not afraid. And I'm glad culturally that we're not throwing Jay-Z under the bus.
Right.
Which is what they need. They need the culture. In order to railroad somebody, they need the culture to kind of throw them under the bus. And every time we don't do that, they don't successfully railroad the person. Like, for instance, Michael Jackson. When they made all those accusations against Michael Jackson, the culture stood by Michael Jackson. And we were like, we don't believe that Michael Jackson did that stuff. We believe that Michael Jackson is being racially railroaded. And eventually they had to let up off Michael Jackson. You can look at Bill Cosby. Now, they got Bill Cosby, but there was enough of us who stood by Bill Cosby and was like, you know what? Those white girl stories aren't adding up. And eventually they had to let up off Bill Cosby, even though they're still trying, but they kind of had to ease up.
Yeah.
Even recently with the situation with Jonathan Majors, we were like, no, we saw that video. We know that white girl's lying. And they had to let up off Jonathan Majors. So I'm just saying this to say that when the culture doesn't allow the black person to get railroaded, they eventually have to let up. And that's why they do all this public smearing with like Diddy and all this allegations to get the culture to throw them under the bus, which I don't think we should do.
Right.
I don't jump on any bandwagon at all. And I'm glad that we're not even really doing that with Diddy the way they need us to. And I'm glad that we're not doing that with Jay-Z.
Yes, sir, man. Very good point. See, that's another building on that. That's another reason why they weren't successful at taking out Kyrie Irving. Remember, they tried that with Kyrie Irving. They tried to paint him as anti-Semitic because he shared a link to a damn movie. So they tried to spin that, and the grassroots said, hell no. No. Y'all not going to paint that brother janky like that. No, y'all not going to do that. He had massive grassroots support, and they had to back up off of him. I'm telling you, black family, your power. The power is in you. That's why I cut that shit out. When they're trying to attack some of our people, they depend on you to be haters. They depend on y'all to act like haters, and they're going to use your hate as a shield. You're literally giving them cover. Just like with the Jordan Neely thing, they kept trying to use some of the black folks on the train as a cover. No, this wasn't racial. There were some black people on the train that agreed. Those were tethers. Those were tethers on that train. Let's keep it a buck. All right, let's get Great Black Shark in the building. Great Black Shark.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir. How are you, brother?
I'm doing grand, man. I hope all is well over on your end. Brother, you are cooking on all cylinders tonight, and I'm going to be very brief. I want to build on a couple of points that you made.
Yeah.
When it comes to the Daniel Penny situation and a lot of this behavior that we see from these white supremacists, and by the way, they've been proving that they're irredeemably evil because you never see black people, even when their people do something egregious to us, we don't have our children mocking their deaths like they did with George Floyd, kneeling on their necks. These people are claiming that they're Christians and be in church just like their clan sisters were after they lynched our people, and they be talking about how holy they are. But one of the things we're going to start to see is like with these numbers of theirs dwindling down, they're going to become more erratic because no matter how much they lie about that in the media, you see they've been took the most losses in the pandemic here. They got mass shooters taking their own out, the opioid crisis. I mean, their genetics are just not able to reproduce. If they get to a point where their scientists tell them, hey, this is it, our numbers have reached below replacement, they'll try to take us down the drain with them.
Yeah.
That's what we have to make sure that does not happen. This is why being on code is so important. And in conjunction with what you said about them trying to disparage our images with like brothers and sisters, it's important that we realize who the real targets of that are, because most of us that are adults, we know how to play past that. Like you said, they want to make future generations, which is black children, the future of anybody's people is their children.
Yeah.
They want to show the worst images of black men and black women. So they say, see, this is all you'll ever be. This is all you should ever aspire to. And if you want us to elevate you, this is what we need you to act like.
Yeah.
And my final point I want to say is this: to that goofy tether that came up here and you kept asking him where he was from, he kept dodging the question. He said something else that gave him away. Black people, especially foundational black Americans, we don't jump up to talking to another black person talking about, well, I'm blacker than you and I'm more from the culture than you. We don't talk like that to each other.
Right.
You know, he gave himself away, man. And the final point I want to make is this: family, pay attention to what Brother Tariq said, because see, from what I've been hearing after this Jordan Neely situation here and Daniel Penny got off, white supremacists, all you've done is make black people come closer together.
Yep.
I hate that that brother lost his life that way, but now that's putting us in the mindset of realizing that the threat is serious, and we're going to start going back to the mindset that our ancestors had during Jim Crow, because that's all we have is each other. So with that said, keep doing what you're doing, black man. I appreciate the work. Stay on code, family. And with that said, I'll land.
Thank you so much. Family, yeah, we got to be on this thing where, we just got to look out. It's foundational black Americans. We got to look out, which generally we do. We do anyway. That's why when we're out places, when foundational black Americans are out, even if we don't know each other, especially the males, we'll acknowledge each other. That's a thing. My wife always make jokes about that, like, y'all black men, y'all always give each other a nod. That's kind of a thing with foundational black American men. We'll always acknowledge each other, even if you don't know them. When I see cats who don't acknowledge, usually it's the tether. Usually it's the tether. They don't do that. But FBA brothers, hey brother, how you doing? Hey brother, how you doing, bro? How you doing? That's we do that as a defense mechanism. So what we're saying is, hey, if something go down, I got you, and if something happens on my end, you got me. That's what it is. Because generally, that's how it was in foundational Black American society. If we're out somewhere and some white supremacists jump bad, we all immediately get on code and start looking out for each other. That's what we saw down in Montgomery with Fade in the Water. That kind of surprised a lot of people around the country, but it's not really surprising. That's how they do in the South. My family's from Alabama. That's how they do. That's the norm, family. What you saw down in Montgomery, if a white person tried to jump a black person, that's what happens. all the other black people start popping out from all over the place, shutting it down. That's what it was. And it should be like that. All that just holding the camera, filming, damn that. You got to get active out here and make sure people are good. I'm telling you personally, I'd be damned if I'm on a train or anywhere seeing a black person getting choked out and I'm sitting there. Never. Never. I'm just speaking for me. I'm not going to sit down for shit. It's up. That's not going to happen. And I'm not trying to be Billy Badass. That shit just ain't going to happen. I'm not going to sit up and watch no black person get choked out by no person in the dominant society at all. And out here, let me tell you something. Family, dude, and we don't we run up on the police and make them stop the bullshit. Out here, I'm not trying to be Billy Badass, but yeah, we'll step to the police and let them know this ain't gonna fly. I've done it on camera. It's on camera. When y'all remember the case, and I even forgot about it, but when the rapper Designer got hemmed up by the police, y'all remember that? And I got involved with that. I didn't even know it was him. For those who don't know, there was a situation. When was that? A couple of years ago, and I'd kind of forgot about it. Somebody reminded me about it the other day. Out here where I live, I was on my way to my office, and there's a gas station next door to my office, and there was a bunch of cops surrounding this brother. They had their guns out, looked like they're about to shoot him. I'm like, what the hell? And the brother was standing there looking scared as hell. He was unarmed. I'm like, what the hell is this? I said, no, this is right next to my joint. I'm like, you know what? No, this don't look right. This don't look right. So I got out. I got to park my car. And I got out, walked right up to the brother, walked right in front of the police and told the police, put your guns down. Now chill out. And they chilled out. I said, y'all escalating this thing. Y'all need to chill. Chill out. I said, brother, are you okay? I'm okay. Find out it was the rapper Designer. I didn't even recognize him. He looked different, but it was Designer. It's the rapper Designer. They're about to blow his damn brains out. They had pulled him over for something. He bought a new car or something, some shit. They were about to, and I think he was arguing with them, and then they were like, oh, we're going to use this as an excuse to get us a free kill. And he was looking nervous. I said, no, everybody just chill the hell out. All right. Just everybody calm the hell down and chill out. And that made the cops chill out, to them knowing that you had other people around saying, hey, this ain't going to fly. So, hey, man, that's where we are. We got to step up and say, hey, some of this shit ain't going to fly. We got to intervene, man. Unfortunately, that's what it is. Because I've been in situations where folks intervened for me out here. I've been pulled over and I've had random cats walk up like, hey man, these police with you out there. I say, no, it's cool. Yeah, all right. They better not, man. Just give us a whistle. They own that. I've had cats, random folks I didn't know. I got pulled over and they just start popping out of nowhere. Like, man, what the hell they doing, homie? Making sure that it wasn't an unjust stop. We got to roll like that sometimes, fam. That's what it is. Let me get Brother Xavier in here. Brother Xavier, what's happening, fam? Brother Xavier over there in Japan. What's up, Xavier?
Hey, how you doing, man?
Good, man. What's going on?
Okay, basically what I think what happened was that was last year that you helped Designer out because he was just coming back from Tokyo where he got arrested on that plane and everything, but he was going through some mental problems. I think after that, that's when you saw him because I was working with him when we brought him to One Oak.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's interesting. Yeah, because I do remember something going on that plane. He was having some.
Yeah. Yeah, because what happened was we brought him over here from One Oak and everything, and I mean he did a good show. It was like we had him in Tokyo, we had him in Thailand and everything, and then just when he got off that plane, there was a problem on the plane in first class and everything because my man was going through a few mental issues. I think that's when that happened with you.
Okay.
That's why I requested. I was like, oh, wait a minute, I remember this.
Oh yeah, yeah. There you go. Thank you so much, brother. Yeah, yeah. He was going. I guess he had some kind of mental episode or whatever. So the cops were going to use that as an excuse to light him up. Oh, they were setting it up to light him up, man. They were blocking off the driveways, and it was real weird. I saw what they were doing. I said, man, they about to get this brother. They were clearing the perimeter so they can get a clean shot. It was like real weird. I said, man, okay, this ain't gonna go down, man. This ain't cool. I gotta say something. Damn this. You dig? So very interesting. But yeah, the images is very important that our images and we control our images. It's very important that we control the images that we have. Let's get Welsing Fan Club in here. Welsing Fan Club, hop in. Welsing Fan Club.
Hi, good evening, Tariq. How are
I'm
you?
good. How are you?
I'm good. It was so interesting what you said about being on code because in Professor H. and Wani's classroom, which is what I call it, a couple of days ago, they talked about how globally the dominant society wants to have everyone perceive Black people as peasants, and that there's too much great achievements to be that way. But to your point and to their point, being psychologically peasants is where, to your point, not being on code parallels, because we already showed the world that being on code upended the entire Democratic
Yes.
Party, and that right now, to your point about controlling the narrative, I'm no expert, but there's only one way I see to control the narrative, and that's to buy it and to own it. What do I mean by that? To have a pack where we are donating our money, if it's even $60 for the year. If you had 2 million people, 2 million people, Black people in this country, and you know there's more than that, donate $60 a year. That's $120 million. We can own the politicians that we want and put in there instead of having them, because it costs money to run a
Yeah.
campaign. And so you have to be able to donate that money to the politicians that are on that House and in that Senate. That if they are not pushing Black interests and Black interests only, that we get them out the paint. Also, when it comes to people like Sunny Hostin on The View, when she called Black men crazy and ridiculous for choosing to vote other than the Democratic Party, that there's a lawsuit that's whipped on Disney, on ABC, and any other production behind her to let them know that when you speak pejoratively of Black people, that it will cost you money. And only then will people, this dominant society, start taking Black people serious. So I just wanted to share that with you, and thank you so much for allowing me to speak in your room.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Now, speaking of ABC, did y'all see Jaleel White, who played Steve Urkel? He did an interview. And I like Jaleel White. I think he's a cool guy, but he said something that I disagreed with. He's talking about the legacy of Family Matters when we speak about representation and images of Black people. Um, and that show, it showed cool images. It wasn't negative, but he said, well, that show isn't held up in the same esteem in Black society as other shows from the '90s, like Martin, Living Single, The Cosby Show. He said the Family Matters show, it wasn't held up in the same high regard because it wasn't hood, kind of giving the illusion that Black people just gravitate stuff because it's hood. And that's not the case, because again, we like the Cosby Show. That wasn't a hood show. Living Single, we love that show. That wasn't a hood show. Martin, that wasn't a hood show. Excuse me. There were a lot of great shows. Fresh Prince of Bel Air wasn't a hood show. We loved that show. And how many of you guys watch Family Matters? We would watch Family Matters, just kind of sort of watch it. We would watch Family Matters because I think it came on Fridays, and we were just kind of watching because nothing else was on Friday. It wasn't like we rushed to the TV to see Family Matters, even though some of the stuff was funny on it. Yeah, I disagree with our brother Jaleel White because Family Matters it was a different vibe. Family Matters, from what I understand, the writers were white, and it was written for a white audience, basically, because there were a lot of other shows that were on that had a black aesthetic. It wasn't hood, but we could relate to the characters. Whereas we couldn't really relate to the Family Matters characters because Family Matters was on that TGIF. It was a family block. So it was more catered to white families. It was very sanitized. It was more of a kid show. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of young adults, we just couldn't really relate to it like that to the point where we would just talk about it and it would become a cultural um, um, iconic thing for us. And there was a few reasons for that. Number one, it was they started to overemphasize on Steve Urkel. You see, and Steve Urkel, even though he was a very funny character, the humor was very slapstickish and over the top. And Urkel was a sideline character. He wasn't even the main character. But because he became so popular, they centered everything around Urkel. And Urkel was more of a cartoon. He was more of an eccentric thing rather than somebody we could really relate to in our personal lives. Even though the Urkel character was funny, we didn't really know an Urkel in real life. Nobody in real life was that nerdy. You know, you running around with your pants high up like that. Did I do that? You know, it was funny, but it wasn't something that we could relate to in real life. You see? And other shows like, Fresh Prince and Martin and stuff like that, it 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 gave a contemporary sense of black slang and fashion and the aesthetic of black society. Family Matters, nobody it was like the wardrobe was weird and nobody had any swag. It wasn't about hood stuff, just nobody had swag. You could tell it was a white wardrobe department. Nobody could relate to that in real life. And um with Family Matters, the storylines were just so over the top. They got into sci-fi shit like Martin and Fresh Prince. You could relate to Carlton. You can relate to Ashley Banks and Philip Banks. You could relate to that stuff. With Martin, you could relate to the characters. You could relate to Tommy and Pam and Gina. You could relate to them. With Urkel, they had Urkel bot. They had robots, and then Urkel cloned himself and became Stefan Urkel. It was these real over the top storylines. Some of it was funny, but you just really couldn't relate to it culturally. It was more of a cartoon than anything. That makes sense? And there was definitely no real black identity on the show. I don't think they didn't really cover too many black issues on Family Matters, where other shows they got into black issues. They talked about black issues, even if it was in the context of humor. You think? Um, Also, you don't remember any cultural moments in Family Matters like you did some of the other shows. Um, you don't remember any real funny standout moments. You dig? You didn't really. It just wasn't there. Whereas with Martin, some of the secondary characters they were over the top, but they were relatable. Like Shanae was over the top, but we knew a Shanae. Jerome, even though that was an over the top character, we knew some Jeromes. We knew characters like Jerome. Even with Fresh Prince of Bel Air, we knew little snooty cats like Carlton Banks. We knew cats like that. Living Single, we knew people like those folks. A Different World, We knew people like Dwayne Wayne and Whitley Gilbert. We knew people like that. That was more relatable. Yeah. With the um, Family Matters, yeah, it was you just couldn't relate to a lot of the stuff there, and even the secondary characters, there was no real development of the secondary characters. There was one sibling that they just wrote out the show, and people didn't even miss her. That's how underdeveloped some of the characters were. One of the characters went upstairs and never came back down, and they never acknowledged the missing sibling. That's how underdeveloped the characters were. We just didn't care. Yeah. Also, another thing, man, the absence of a romantic and adult themes, like Living Single, they were adults could relate to that because they were in relationships, they were dating. We wanted to see who would be dating who in the next episode with Martin. There was romance in there, people dating each other. Fresh Prince, they always had Will with dimes. They had Will with a whole bunch of broads. They had him with a bunch of fine ass women. So we could relate to that. Family Matters, they didn't really have, they had Urkel trying to get with Laura and she's playing hard to get. And that was just the whole theme. She's playing hard to get season after season. So it was more of a childlike thing. It didn't have any real mature content. And that was the theme of the show. The theme of Family Matters was to be more of a childlike, wholesome show for that whole TGI Friday vibe. They made the humor very safe. They didn't get overly sexual. So it was a very childlike thing that we just really couldn't get into on a major level. So, yeah, it's not like we gravitate towards hood stuff. We just couldn't relate to the humor on Family Matters on a deep level. Even though we would watch some of the stuff and some of it was very funny. But it wasn't a culturally iconic show like so many others. Let's get Ani Asaru in. Brother Ani, hop in, sir. Ani, hop in, brother. Ani, where you at?
Yeah, what's going on, brother? You speaking facts, and I have a connection with it because I was named after Jaleel White. My name's Jaleel.
Oh, wow.
In real life. Yeah, and the thing about it, this is very important. Everything you describe is true. Urkel was the first black man to wear a dress. I think black child to wear a dress on stream. Did you know that? Jaleel White talked about that.
Wow.
So they kind of like, they buck broke him a little bit. And they're talking about how Jaleel White, is saying, they want to do a reboot and he doesn't want the reboot to come out because, the show was kind of all around him and he doesn't want those other actors, to get that money and shine. So he does have a little bit of an ego. People are recognizing now, but yeah, he was the first black child on the TV stream that was buck broken. He admitted
wow. That. I got to get his book, and I really want to read his book because I'm thinking that book is pretty good. Because thank you for the call, brother. Jaleel White, they had him playing a character called Myrtle Urkel. He was, I guess, Steve Urkel's cousin that he was playing, and they had him in a dress, and I think the adults on the cast behind the scenes, they didn't like that. They didn't want him in that dress like that. And I think they were speaking against it. They were trying to stop the white producers from doing that. So shout out to Reginald Bell Johnson and the sister who played Harriet, because they were vehemently against that and they were trying to fight with the producers behind the scene. From what I heard this, but I need to read his book to really get into that because that's very interesting.
Get ready to celebrate the holidays in style. Join us for the Arati Sussy Holiday Season Celebration at the Hidden History Museum in Los Angeles, Saturday, December 21st, 2024, 7 p.m. sharp. Enjoy complimentary dinner and drinks while you laugh the night away. Hosted by Tariq Nasheed and Dwan B. Featuring hilarious performances from Big Jaw, Kevin Tate, Henry Coleman, and more. Tickets are going fast, so don't wait. Visit hiddenhistorymuseum.com to reserve your spot. Don't miss the most festive night of the season. hiddenhistorymuseum.com.